You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. This is a conversation that features myself and Scott Ian. Scott is the rhythm guitarist, and I suppose you'd say one of the principal architects of thrash metal. He's the guy in Anthrax and also S.O.D. The reason for the conversation is to promote Scott's upcoming spoken word tour of Australia under the banner of the One Man Riot. I'll read out some dates. Monday, the 24th of September, he's playing in Adelaide. Wednesday, the 26th, he is playing in Melbourne. Saturday, the 29th, he's playing in Sydney. And finally, October the 1st, which is a Monday, he's playing in Brisbane. Let's hear what he has to say. Here we go.
Yeah, good. No worries.
Yeah, Andrew Mackay-Smith calling. Sorry, I was thinking I don't want to miss my opportunity to talk to the bloody great Scott Ian. So.
Oh yeah, no worries, man.
You know how it is, mate. How much time have I got?
20 minutes, whatever it is.
Wonderful. Okay, no worries. Mate, you're coming down to Australia. I've certainly got the press blurb that explains what's going on, but for anybody listening, because I'll be releasing this on my radio show, tell us all about the performance. It's an unusual performance, I suppose, in one respect, because it's something that you're doing outside of Anthrax and S.O.D, but tell us about the performance you're bringing down to Australia.
I get on stage and I tell lots of stories, and they seem to make people laugh. I put words together in sentences, and then in the context of these tales, people seem to laugh in all the right places. And I've led a semi-interesting life over the past 35-ish years. And look, it's not like I was looking to stand on a stage in front of people and talk about myself, because I understand most people really don't give a shit. But you know, I started doing these shows about 5 years ago, and I had fun doing them, and the audiences also seemed to have fun. So I got the opportunity to come down to Australia and do this. And you know, when do you get the opportunity to go to Australia in general? Not that often. So you know, I was very excited to be able to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things. And look, I am a long-time fan of Anthrax, it must be said. You're one of the first bands that I ever actually got into. I'm trying to think. I think one of the first metal albums, equally saying one of the first albums that I ever bought, was The Persistence of Time. So in a lot of ways, Anthrax's music has been a soundtrack to my life. So now to hear you up there on stages, you've also written a book too. So you've got a wonderful book out there for people to listen to. But it's really interesting, as a very talented guy as you clearly are, that you can branch out and you can bring so much of yourself to the people. So what inspired you to branch out into the spoken word thing? Because I know it's not easy standing up there all by yourself. Sorry if it brings on a bit of anxiety saying it like this, but it's one thing to be behind a guitar, and I know this because I do it myself. I play guitar and I play bass, so up there on stage, but it's an entirely different thing to stand up in front of people and talk to them about your life. So does the preparation for a performance as such, or a spoken word performance, is that any different, or how does that differ for when you get up on stage with Anthrax?
I couldn't disagree more. I actually find I have absolute 100% complete control over everything going on when I do the talking shows. I'm not a 1/5 part of a band on stage where, you know, I'm the guitar player in Anthrax, but I can't control everything going on that stage. So much more could happen or go right or wrong or whatever in the context of being in a band. For me, being on stage in the talking shows, look, I've never had any fear of being in front of people or speaking, expressing myself in any way, shape, or form. And now it's just me and a microphone, and I've got all the control and all the responsibility, and I love it. I love that feeling of being up there and doing that. Look, I mean, you could say I'm a frustrated singer because I can't sing. I couldn't be the front man in Anthrax. I'm not a singer, but when I go tell stories, I'm expressing myself in a very similar way that I do in the band. On stage in Anthrax, I've got my guitar on, and I'm up there giving everything I have, playing songs that I co-wrote with my friends in Anthrax. And I'm expressing myself. And I'm doing the same thing when I'm telling stories. It's the same feeling for me. It's absolutely 100% the same feeling, except it's all me. And therefore I have all the control, which I love. I love that because if something goes wrong, it's me. I'm the only one up there. Only I can make a mistake. And if I make a mistake, who cares? Because I'm just up there telling stories. It's not like my guitar, my voice isn't going to go out of tune. So it's just, yes, in that way it is different. But at the same time, I really do feel the same in that I'm expressing myself. I'm just on stage expressing myself. I just so happen to be doing it with words instead of chords.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go back in time a little bit because I said I'm an old fan, and one of my favourite albums of yours, if not my favourite album of yours, is an album that you can't even get on iTunes, at least in Australia at the moment, which is Stomp 442. So it's an album that contains some wonderful deep cuts. My question for you is, what's your view on that album now that it's, if you can believe, it's about 23 years old at this stage?
That's weird that it's not on iTunes because, I mean, it is here.
Yeah, I thought, well, just to let you know,
kind of odd.
yeah, it should be, to be honest, because it's a bloody good album. That one, the other one, Volume 8 as well.
What about Sound of White Noise? Can you get that one?
I will look for you right now. Hope so, because that's another one.
Because those are the two Elektra albums, so it would be weird if one wasn't available and the other was. But I will definitely let my manager know about that tomorrow. But I don't know, my view on that. Honestly, I haven't thought of that record in a long time until you just mentioned it. So I don't know. I think I love the record. I think it's got some great songs on it. I think it was nightmarishly overlooked at the time in 1995. It never got the chance that it should have. And look, I'm not bitter about it. Certainly in 1995, I was angry about it because no one seemed to be doing anything to help us. But obviously having hindsight and being able to look back at 1995 and how everything was changing in the landscape of music and everything at that time, I could certainly look back and understand why it got buried. But at the same time, yeah, in 1995, I was definitely angry over the fact that, we came off Sound of White Noise, which was basically a platinum album in the States.
Brilliant, yeah.
And then Stomp 442 comes out only 2 years later and ends up, at the end of the day, it probably sold about 150,000 copies. So, I've always said, it's like, well, where did 800,000 people go? Like, it's just insane to me that so many people didn't know we had a record out. That's one of those questions I guess I'll never answer. And I honestly, I stopped asking it a long time ago because it's been 23 years. But yeah, I think it's a killer record. I think there's great songs on it. And I think it holds up with any metal record that came out in the mid 90s. It's a shame that more people don't know about it.
Tell me about, and I know you've spoken a little bit about this one here, but I want you to focus strictly on the music, if that's okay. Your relationship with Dimebag, because one of my favourite leads that he ever did is on King Size, and that includes the stuff that he did with Pantera. And I can't remember the name of the song, sorry, it's escaped me, on Volume 8, that he did that wonderful solo and leads on there. But your relationship musically with Dime, you guys seem to hit it off. So is there anything else you can share about your relationship with Dime?
I don't know. I don't know. We were friends first and foremost. We were friends. We were friends outside of band stuff. We weren't talking about band stuff when we would hang out. We were just regular friends. And I know a million dudes in bands. And most of those million dudes you see them and you say hi and how are you? But it's not like I've made a deep connection with every dude I know in a band. But Daryl was one of those few people that we transcended the fact that we both played in bands and we became friends outside of that. And we stayed in touch with each other. We would stay in touch with each other. We would see each other whenever we could, whether they were coming through New York or LA or we were coming through Texas or wherever it was. I mean, I really cherished those times that I got to see him, certainly, through the 90s when Pantera was at their peak. And then, we toured with them in 97, 98 in the States. So then I got to hang out with him every day, which of course I talk a lot about in my show. But yeah, I would just say that it was a lot more normal than probably people expect. Yes, of course there were all the crazy shenanigans that people know about Daryl, and all the insanity and the drinking and all that and the fun. But at the same time, it was also just very, very normal, and it could be very quiet as well. And there was just as many quiet moments as there were noisy moments. And you know, that's probably what I cherish even more. As much fun as it was to break things and drink too much, just getting to like sit around like quietly at 4 p.m. and talk about life. That was always, you know, because we were just friends. I think I could safely say we enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah, no, good stuff, mate. Yeah, because that comes across in how comfortable his guitar playing sits in with your music. And to be completely frank with you, prior to hearing, I heard through the media back in the day, God, it was all print back in those days, that he was going to be guesting on some of the tracks. And I thought, God, I wonder what this is going to sound like, because at the time I thought you guys were very different bands, but it just seems to work so well. And for 23 years later, for that solo and for that lead to still be as vital as what it is, it just grips right out of the bloody speaker and just grabs you. So, look, I appreciate you sharing your insight there about Dime, because I also appreciate you probably get asked about it quite a bit. So,
yeah, you know, it's funny because I forget sometimes, you know, that he played on 3 of our records. You know, how many bands can say they had like the best, you know, it'd be like if someone 10 years before us could say, well, Eddie Van Halen played on 3 of my albums, you know, like, you know, that's just how close we were, man. And it wasn't just me. He was probably even closer with Charlie than he was with me. I mean, we were just really, really good friends. And you know, I think about it. I think on Stomp, I can't remember. We were trying to pay him. We wanted, you know, we're like, dude, you played on the record. We have to pay you. He's like, I'm not taking your fucking money. You know, like, this is, what did I do? I came to the studio, we hung out, we had fun, and I played guitar. You're going to pay me for that? And we were like, look, it's just, we can't, we have to do something. And so there was some video camera that he wanted at the time. So we bought him a video camera.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And then like on the next album, on Volume 8, I think we bought him a TV. And then I can't remember on We've Come For You All. I think he said, you guys are getting this one for free. I won't take anything. And I think he wouldn't take anything from us on that third one.
Okay, there you go. Look, another guitarist you've worked with who I'm personally a big fan of, because I think he's an extraordinary composer and arranger, and I was really hoping at the time that he'd stay on with you guys, and that's Paul Crook. So have you got a relationship with him to this day, and is there any chance or is there an opportunity for you guys to team up and work together again?
Oh, yeah. We're all friends. We just saw Paul. He came to the New Jersey show on this tour. Yeah, you know, Paul, look, he got out of Anthrax at the right time, because it was kind of right after that where my wife basically got him the gig with her dad's band in Meatloaf. Yep. And you know, that was a great gig for him for a really long time. So, yeah, we're all friends, and work together. I don't. I mean, in the context of Anthrax, I think I could safely say that would probably not. Yeah. But it doesn't mean I wouldn't do something with him outside of Anthrax.
What about S.O.D? Yourself and Billy, is there a friendship there these days? And do you think that there would ever be a third or a fourth album that might be released?
I mean, it's not like we don't communicate very often. It's kind of few and far between that there's any communication. But I have no issue with Billy at all. None. I mean, look, I learned a long time ago, there's really, you know, unless someone did something to you that was so bad that it's unforgivable, yeah. You know, and I understand there are things someone could do to somebody that, you know, you would never want to speak to them again. But outside of that, life's too short to harbor that kind of shit. And I don't have anything like that with Billy. I love Billy. I think he's fucking great. And whether or not we ever do anything with S.O.D again, I don't have an answer for that. It's not like I have some exorbitant amount of time to be in another band. So, and that's been the case since 1985. So, and obviously the same goes for Charlie. We're pretty busy with our day job and have been for 33 years since Speak English or Die came out. So, I love S.O.D. It's my baby. I created Sergeant D.
Yeah.
I wrote half that album before I even told anyone about it. So nobody loves it more than I do, and I would love to do more with it. It's just a case of, for me personally, maintaining what it means to me and never doing anything that I would think is wrong for what it is. I just don't want to do it if it's going to make me feel like, oh, I'm just doing this to either to get paid or just against the spirit, because S.O.D. was never meant to be a real band in my mind. And it's never meant to have the baggage of a real band. It's never meant to be a job. It was something that made us laugh to the point where we were pissing ourselves. And that's what S.O.D. should be. So if it could be done in that kind of a spirit in some way, shape, or form, then I'd be the first one in line.
Look, I don't want to put a number on it, but I reckon if I was going to, about 15% of the people globally that are into Celtic Frost owe S.O.D. and yourself a bit of a debt there because of that track you released on the album in '99 or 2000. So, look, I'll let it's classic material.
Yeah.
Mate, I better leave it there. I want to say this: you're one of those guys that's been on my bucket list for a long time. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have a conversation. I'll certainly try and be in the audience when you come to Australia. It's just so bloody hard when you've got kids, as I'm sure you can appreciate these days, to get out of the house on nights.
I hear you.
So
yeah. Hey, I'm getting out of the house and I'm flying 7,400 miles. That's talk about getting out of the house with a child. Yeah, somehow I was able to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, mate, just keep doing what you're doing. I love your riffage. I can always tell whenever there's Scott Ian playing, no matter what the song is. I love listening to your rhythm guitar. It's just such an identifiable component of heavy metal, not just Anthrax's music. So well done.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, mate. No worries.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. That was a conversation that featured myself and Scott Ian. Just a quick note, you probably heard me say through the conversation that Scott has some books out there available to listen to. That is correct. They're available on Audible. Check it out. Thanks so much for listening.